Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Tatiana Show. This is a summer edition of the Tatiana Show, and I've got a lot of people on the show today, and there's been a lot of experimentation to bring this to you. We're trying to make some improvements at the show, and I made a jingle, so hopefully you just listened to it. If you didn't, I'm sorry, we haven't figured it out yet. But, you know, I was all proud. I have some lighting, but then I saw Josh, and Josh is just stepping it up beyond belief with his really cool green screen thing. Yeah, I mean, the background choice of what you have behind you is just so rad. We should just talk for a little bit so they could see you.
Yeah, right. Well, the bear market is hitting everyone so hard. Everyone keeps whinging and bitching and moaning to me. Perfect price. I'm like, man, just shut up. Price doesn't equal value, basically.
Oh my gosh. But give me a break. You know that most people are 90% or more in. So don't be completely cold-hearted.
Yeah, I'm not. But I do understand
that. You get to tell people that.
Well, no, it's about continuing work on the projects, heads down, tail up, keep on beavering away. And know that you can pretty much tell the future from the past. And the past has happened so many times, the same thing, exactly the same. You could pretty much match the graphs over the top. And it's just bigger and better every time. That's all. So,
I do think it will get bigger and better, but I don't think it's fair to just, this has been a very, very long, depressing year in some ways. In other ways, I think it's going great. And overall, of course, I'm very, 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 very bullish on crypto overall, but not the best year.
Yeah. I mean, that's why people
people are experiencing growth, people are planning, but yeah, I mean, I've just seen a really big slowdown. What was your weird picture in the back? Oh,
I got crypto nerds hanging out right behind me.
Well, we have our own crypto nerds for the show, and I think we've got some Vaultoro stuff. Maybe we'll say that toward the end, because I think I don't know, I don't want to hold our guests up. Unless there's something you want to announce now.
There's so many guests now. There's so many guests waiting in the green room.
Every time I see your neon behind you, I'm so jealous. Anyway, okay, cool. So yeah, if people are watching or just listening, you can check out the show at Forevermore Tatiana on YouTube and listen there. But we're profligating our show all over the place. Our first guest is a friend of mine, Thorsten. He's putting on this really cool conference called Crypto-Rockstars. And he and we just finished up an interview that I did, and he actually interviewed Lynn as well. So I thought that was pretty cool. One of the things they don't tell you about hiding broadcasts is that you can't see who the people are. Now I can. And here he is, Thorsten. You must unmute yourself. And we'd love to hear a little bit about what this online conference is. Hey, nice to see you.
Hey, hi. Nice to see you too. Actually, my name is Thorsten. I'm just doing a quick introduction of myself. I'm a fashion designer turned online marketer and obsessed with the possibilities of the blockchain technology. Well, that is about to transform our future, of course. I'm one of the event organizers of the Crypto-Rockstars.com online conference, as you just said. And there we talk with our awesome interview guests like Tatiana about anything related to blockchain and cryptocurrency. And the conference will be available through a live stream on 3 days during November 23rd to 26th. So go check it out at Crypto-Rockstars.com. If you should miss a session, you can always buy a ticket to access the recordings for the next 12 months. So feel free to join in on the conversation.
How much how much is it to go to the conference?
Actually, we have a free tier. So we will do live streaming through a webinar room, which will hold 500 people for free. And we will do some live streaming through our media partners, but we can't tell right now how much people will be involved there. And we're just still looking for the right partners. And there's a possibility to catch everything for free, but it's a live session. So if you missed one of the sessions, then you need to get a ticket to be able to see the recording.
Now there's so many conferences happening all the time. What makes the Rockstars different? Why would I want to?
They don't have to go anywhere. I mean, aren't you a little bit over traveled?
That's just the best part. You don't have to come there. No, we really were fed up with the conferences because if you go to any conference and take a click on the ticket prices, then you will see that the conference is about $2,000 and more, and you will have 3 sheiks and 5 bankers sitting there eating some shrimp square. So that's about it. And no, we want to reach the masses and go international. And we have the huge opportunity to get our hands on speakers, like awesome speakers like Tatiana, that we could not afford to come to Germany, and to speak locally. So we wanted to make this more like a virtual summit from the marketing space. So this is called Virtual Summit, and to have the opportunity to stream it live online. So I think we can showcase some or highlight or feature, whatever you want to say, some speakers that are not regularly available on any conference at all. And again, we are not about the big names. I don't care about Roger Ware or whatever, or Vitaly Buterin. I care about stories. I care about possibilities of technologies. I care about stories like the one from the Silk Road, like we interviewed Lynn Ulbrich, thanks to Tatiana. And these are the things that are most interesting to us. We more like want to do the education, not the...
Yeah, I think that's definitely a little bit more mainstream, you know, going for the real, the use cases and the stories behind the lives that are getting changed with this technology, rather than the cult of personalities of the likes of Roger Ver and Vitaly Buterin. I mean, you know, they have their place, and these cults of personality are fun sometimes to watch and to talk about and this and that, but really, it's not what Bitcoin's about. It's not what crypto's about. Crypto's about decentralization. It's not about having these centralized power structures that we all worship and bow down to. You know, the real the worship here is maths, but it's really the stories of changing currency from the ground up, changing what money is, and that's very exciting. Oh, very cool.
Right. Yeah, so the website is crypto-rockstars.com. Check it out, guys. November 23rd to the 26th. Yeah, and there'll be links in the show notes. Again, if you guys are watching on YouTube, give this show a subscribe or a like or whatever it is you're supposed to do on this. Yeah, that's it. Thanks again, Thorsten, for joining us today, okay? We'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Bye. Ciao.
Bye.
Yeah, well, that's very cool, Tatiana. We see you always, we're bringing the latest and greatest in conference technology to this show.
You know, there's a lot of things that I'm doing. Like I'm coming up. This is probably a good segue. I'll be in Barcelona for the cruise that's going. Oh, you're going to be there. Duh.
I'm giving a talk there too. Yeah, about
the Coin Banks cruise. So we're going from Barcelona from the 7th to the 11th of September. We're going to go to Monaco, Ibiza. It's going to be amazing. I'm super excited. Then I'm going to be at the Heroes Conference in Italy. And next week I'm going to be in Chicago for the Voice of Blockchain, and I don't know. There's all these things, and then of course the Tom Woods, Bob Murphy, Contra Krugman cruise in October. But I think the most exciting thing may be the European cruise, because we haven't hung out in a really long time.
I know,
and it's long overdue.
Very cool, very cool. So who have we got next on the show?
Oh, we've got the guys from Dash, and they're going to tell us about Venezuela and Dash and other things, which is cool. So let's bring them on.
Let's bring them on.
We've got Joel. How do I do this? I'm learning how to do my own broadcasting for a short while, an impromptu learning. Hold on.
Hi there. Can you see me?
Hi there. Hey, Joel. How's it going?
I'm doing well. Mark just needs to unmute himself, and I think we're good to go.
All right. Mark was helping me earlier. This was a group effort. I'm glad that we've all made it here today. Congratulations. I've mastered Google Hangouts.
Peer-to-peer podcast.
Totally, right? So I got the heads up from the Bitcoin Magazine team about you guys wanting to maybe talk a little bit about Venezuela, and I've been thinking about it, and we've all been hearing about it. And it's such a great place to see what happens with cryptocurrency. Not a great place to be right now, but it is like a hotbed of opportunity there in that regard. So maybe since you guys haven't been on the show before, you could tell a little bit about your background and a little bit about who you are, and then we can segue into that.
Sure. Am I going first?
Yes.
I guess so. Why not?
Age before beauty.
My name is Mark Mason, and as you can probably tell by my accent, I'm from the UK. I've been involved in cryptocurrency for a little while now. Although I'm active in the Dash community now, I used to be very evangelic on Bitcoin and had a Bitcoin business in 2013, merchandise. I'm now currently the Dashforce director of PR and media. I do international outreach. I'm also the webmaster for DashForceNews.com and DiscoverDash.com, which is the merchant directory website.
Why is it Dash Force? Is that just for fun? I mean, it's super cool, actually. I'm not going to lie.
Can't you tell by look at me? Look at
Okay,
this.
just
Check out that flexing. Come on. No, that's a very. I mean, I'd be more than happy to go into space. I'll have to talk about explaining what a DAO is, a decentralized autonomous organization, and what a Dash-funded organization is. And
wait. Hold on. Before we get to that, I want to hear about the Force.
Yeah,
let's hear about the Force, but let's talk to Joel first, and then we'll get the Force together, and it'll be with us all.
The Force is with you.
I'm the chief editor of DashForceNews, which is DashForce's news publication, and director of public outreach. And to answer the question about the Force thing, back in late 2016, there was this general consensus among the Dash community that there was a lot of loud competitors in the space who were kind of drowning out a lot of what's going on in Dash. And there was an initiative to basically start pushing back, start trying to fight for a piece of the attention pie, so to speak. And so, just because it sounded like a cool kind of name at the time, Dash Force was founded. And so, since then, it's become much, much more than that. And it's the longest running organization outside of the Dash core team itself, which takes care of all the development. And so, that's sort of how it came out. We sort of act as the front line of community outreach, etc., rather than just the back end kind of coder guys.
And we like Star Wars.
That was a good breakdown. I like this. I like all of this. If I didn't know anything about Dash, how would you tell me about Dash? What would you say?
Well, first,
I don't know anything about Dash. What happens?
Yes, Dash is digital cash. That's the really quick and dirty kind of way of saying it. Dash is a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, like what Bitcoin promised, but polished to deliver on that actual promise and become the first cryptocurrency that's actually workable and usable for the average person, and is still all the decentralized sound money goodness that we've come to know and love.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's throwing shade on Bitcoin a little.
Well, the thing about Bitcoin is, and back in 2013, I started using Bitcoin. I don't think I've ever bought cryptocurrency in my life. I've only ever received it in exchange for goods and services. And so I started accepting Bitcoin for payments for all the various work I was doing. Late 2015, I stopped accepting fiat currency as a compensation. And in early 2016, I closed my bank account and started living entirely off of Bitcoin. And so I've been in the, I'm what one could call an OG Bitcoin maximalist. I was just Bitcoin or nothing.
So when the price goes up and down, it affects you.
Yeah, very much so. And so then it became Bitcoin's role in the cryptoverse kind of shifted a little bit. And so then if I was going to be the person who was using a form of Bitcoin, a kind of cryptocurrency for everyday purchases, I couldn't use BTC anymore. It became untenable. And so there was no Bitcoin Cash a year. It was a year between when I started using Dash and Bitcoin Cash came into existence. So that was the only kind of option. Since then, there's a lot of things that cryptocurrency provides, and the biggest thing that I've always cared about, as evidenced through my life story, is actually being able to spend this instead of fiat currency. And so that's why I'm in Dash. I'm focused on that, is because I want something that everyone's using to buy their coffee with right now. And I want to get that done, and I want to get all the world using that, and then we can sort of worry about other more complicated or more background kind of things that cryptocurrency can do. But that's just really what I'm worried about. Is I want something that everyone can use and spend in their day-to-day life. And so far, and that's what has taken me into full on into Dash.
Now, I've been following Dash for, well, ever since it was called Darkcoin and really what really has made it stand out for me as a top tier project is that it really pioneered the ability for the blockchain not only to protect itself by paying humans to mine it and to secure the network, but where the blockchain actually pays into a fund that then holders of Dash can vote on, and you can start, and this fund pays out autonomously kind of through voting mechanisms and pays for organizations. And I'm guessing DashForceNews is one of those organizations that it pays for. So it's just amazing for me to see a cryptocurrency that is this self-perpetuating worm of digital joy.
Self-perpetuating worm of digital joy. It sounds like a good band name.
Don't you like that? But it actually is paying people to market it, and I think that's a really cool idea. Not only market it, but to build applications upon it. So we see things like let's say EOS, for instance. They've gone an old school, ICO. Sorry, guys, had a little brain fart. An ICO, but also got VC funding in to pay for things. But Dash really is paying by the block reward, and that to me is just so cool. I think that's what really makes it stand out for me.
Yeah, it's one of those moments like when you first use your first Bitcoin transaction, where you're like, wow, this is going to change everything. I can just download an app and just send to that guy there and send back, and just no barriers. And then this isn't controlled by any centralized entity or government or something. This is amazing. And it's something like that also with Dash, when people start to kind of see the whole decentralized autonomous organization, the first of its kind, see how this is affecting the world, to where, for example, when Mark and I, we have a third partner, when we submit a budget proposal to the Dash network, if a net number, a certain net threshold of people who hold Dash and vote to fund us, then at a certain point in the month, funds get created in a block, just like a mine block, called the super block, and goes straight to the address we specified. So it's completely uncensorable in that way. And one thing that a thought exercise that I did that really, it always blows my mind just to come back to this, but right now you could eliminate everyone involved in Dash today. You could round up the entire core team, get rid of them. You could get rid of Mark and I. You can get rid of everyone, and everyone who holds Dash today. You could
round them up.
Yeah, you could take them all out. Someone could find the Dash software somewhere, start mining it from zero, get enough Dash to get a masternode, start running a masternode, sell some to a friend or whatever, someone else starts mining it, and then recreate this whole decentralized autonomous organization from the ashes, just from nothing. You can't erase it. You can't erase it from the face of the earth. And that's sometimes a little bit of a scary thing when you start thinking about it, is like, what have we created? We've created this thing that lives on and on beyond any group of people.
That's wild.
Very
I like that.
So it's the first self-funding, self-governing protocol, and it's called decentralized governance by blockchain. And just like Joshua said, he said like communism. Well, like there's no central authority. Dash has no CEO. So I really like what Joshua was saying earlier on about how people can get lost in personalities and certain key individual figures. If there was no Vitalik, if there was no Roger, what would happen to these projects? Now, Dash Core Group has a CEO, Ryan Taylor, but that's a Dash funded organization. If the community gets to decide voting, but also governance issues as well, that's how we reach consensus. And this is such a revolutionary concept that Dash pioneered back in 2015. It's really sad in 2018 that other projects are still plagued by this drama when it's already been solved, where we don't have to rely on third-party external funding, as that presents, or as we've seen, a major conflict of interest.
Yeah, and we've seen this happen a lot, where now there's a whole bunch of different projects that are trying to adopt some sort of a similar decentralized model, because of course there's all the problems that deal with centralization, and we've seen like there's probably more coins than you care to count. But for example, I remember Charles Hoskinson of Cardano studied Dash for a long time and used some of what he learned in the governance system to create his own project. And so that's the thing, is everything, it all ties back to Bitcoin, of course. Everything started with this thing that still very few people have managed to improve upon. In fact, I've found a lot of cryptocurrencies that have come out there have tended to go backwards from Bitcoin. But this is like a world-changing invention, and then you just add another layer to it, another project, another innovation, another something to it. And just to see the evolution of, it's like, I wouldn't call the digital currency revolution so much as the evolution. It just keeps on growing and growing over time and turning into something completely different.
Yeah, there's no violence involved, which is great.
Yes.
Which is usually a revolution has a hell of a lot of violence.
Yes, and of course we've seen, for example, I remember back in the day when I had my own static Bitcoin address, just one address, and then I remember when HD wallets came along, and now all of a sudden you have tons of addresses, and just to see within 5 or 10 years, cryptocurrency will be so vastly different from where it is today, and it just keeps on growing and improving over time.
Yeah, let's talk about Venezuela a little bit, because Dash,
subject.
the DAO has that we talked about before, that's been funding objects, really has been putting a lot of focus onto getting Dash adopted within the Venezuelan economy, on the ground at the grassroots level. And I think that's really, really important, because I've said it on the show before, but it's really, if crypto can't make it in Venezuela, it really can't make it anywhere right now. And I think it's the perfect breeding ground to get cryptocurrency happening. So
on the ground.
tell us about some of the projects that are happening over there.
Yeah, so I'm sure Mark can go into more detail for a second there. I want to mention about how this kind of thing happened. You have a friend of mine, Eugenia. She started she submitted a proposal to hold a first Dash only conference in Venezuela about a year ago, for last September. And so that got funded, and then it had double the projected attendees. And then she just kept on doing that. And it started from that a few of her friends and associates started a business adoption program, and then started a full-time help desk. And now there's another project for a SMS-based Dash wallet. And there's just all these things that grew onto it. And it's interesting to notice that it's because of this whole permissionless system. You get people that see their country suffering, their countrymen suffering, their whole economy is starting to go down in shambles. And they see that they see cryptocurrency can help. And rather than just wait for someone, hey, can you please airdrop us a bunch of tokens? Or, hey, can you do us a solution? Now they're like, well, we are just as much Dash as the rest of the world. We can just plug in, get funding from the system. And then now all of a sudden, probably more people work for Dash in Venezuela than in any other specific country at this point. And no one said, oh, we think we're going to expand our operations to Venezuela. It's like, no, they took it. They plugged into the system. And now we have a vibrant group on the ground that's doing a bunch of amazing things.
Wow, that's wild. So are people there understanding the economics as to why it's not working there? You know what I mean? Are people there clamoring for more? I mean, are they like, oh, awesome, Venezuela coin, or are they seeing why it's not good? They've been suffering for a really long time.
That's a really great question. And I actually think Joshua hit it on the head again earlier, just saying about by focusing on the payment. He's on fire. He's on fire today. Okay, I think let's take it back to basics, because there may be people listening or watching that may not be familiar with what's happening in Venezuela. So right now,
Thanks.
Venezuela is suffering from a severe currency crisis, like major hyperinflation. In fact, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, has warned that inflation could top 1,000,000% by the end of the year, and compared the economic turmoil to Germany's 1920. People there are literally waking up, and inflation's going up like 5% or more every single day. It's absolutely crazy. Now, why? So as Josh was saying, like if cryptocurrency can't make it in Venezuela, then the whole crypto sphere's got problems. And why I think that was such a smart thing to say is Venezuela is ripe for this. Why? Because in February 2018, out of sheer desperation, the Venezuelan government launched its own cryptocurrency called the Petro. And this was a centralized government solution labeled as a cryptocurrency, which was meant to be backed by oil. But of course, because it was centralized and there's lots of bureaucracy, it fell flat on its face. However, that's really helped the crypto world out. Why? Because they actually educated the whole nation that moving forward, okay, our currency's failed. Now we're launching this Petro cryptocurrency. So from this point moving forward, you have to pay your taxes in cryptocurrency. So they actually done all our work for us. They actually educated the population. Now, the beautiful thing is that where Dash is completely decentralized, we've had so we haven't airdropped people in there. We haven't pointed fingers and told people what to do. Actually, people on the ground. In fact, we've got 22 grassroots community projects in Venezuela. And they range from all different areas, from putting on conferences, education, merchant adoption, help support center, and developing solutions that are specific to the needs of Venezuela, like Dash Text.
Yeah, I saw that Dash,
So cool.
that Bitcoin, even in this bear market, that Bitcoin's on, I think, doubled in price every 18 days within Venezuela. So I'm sure it's this because everything's tanky at the moment. So I didn't have the specific on Dash, but I'm pretty sure on Dash it would be the same. So there's no reason really to stay in the Bolivar. Just jump straight into some sort of crypto, because even in a bear market, I mean, it's almost like you can't lose.
Yeah, but you've got to be really careful, because the government there is really stamping down. It's illegal to even compare the Bolivia exchange rate to the US dollar. They've actually put people in prison for it. However, It's important for me to say, in terms of legality, cryptocurrency is legal there. So this is where we're getting
really protected and encouraged. Oddly enough, we'd never expect a totalitarian.
Because they're going to have Armageddon probably if they didn't. If they have to have something. It's better. Well, I want to ask a question. So you said that they have to pay their taxes in cryptocurrency, and they're doing this training, which is great, but I'm confused, in the Petro coin or whatever, or so basically people can just roam around using regular cryptos, and at the end of the year, just switch it in. Is it because they designed it so they would have a demand for their currency? Do you think that they thought that much through?
I don't want to pass too much.
People helping them.
I don't want to pass too much speculation as fact, but the way the media has reported it is that Russia has sent in advisors to help out the situation in Venezuela, and they've helped them construct this Petro. Now, the government before Venezuela was a socialist country and was purely dependent on the revenue of oil. And at that point in time, oil was doing incredibly well. So they could fund lots of social programs based on all this revenue for oil. But of course, over the last few years, the oil price has tanked because the OPEC nations have brought down the price and the competition is rife. So they've run into major issues. So in terms of education, when they're trying to launch a new currency, the Venezuelan government went all out. The Petro thing has banners all around the country. Like, imagine like massive propaganda in like a video game. It's everywhere because the countries and people are protesting. A stack of notes. If you're listening, I don't know. Like, imagine like a brick but turned up vertically. It would be like less than $1 US, right? So there's people, throwing protests in bank accounts because the money's worthless. Like, if you've got a brick worth money, it costs more to print than it's actually worth. So they're actually ripping up money actually in the banks protesting. Like, there's real problems there.
Wow. Is that legal? Do they get in trouble for it? You're not supposed to destroy legal tender.
It's almost become a joke. People are making arts and crafts out of the notes. They're making handbags with them, all sorts, because, they're having to reissue notes as well with more numbers on the end. Zimbabwe. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
So in fact, a friend of mine runs this t-shirt store called scofflaws.shop, and he sells merchandise for a variety of cryptocurrencies. And one thing that he always includes, he includes these in all his orders.
Nice.
Venezuelan Bolivar notes, which are, everyone wants them out of curiosity in the Western world, but
get some demand happening.
Yeah, it's funny because the collector's value of Bolivars are many times higher than the actual currency value in that country. People,
That's funny. That's probably propping up their economy
yeah,
slightly.
it's funny. It could be. It's funny because like the value of the bolivar is in people wanting to own it to stare in wonderment and how little value it is.
Yeah.
So
You know,
it's kind of a weird situation there.
You know what's funny is Mark, you mentioned that they brought in Russians to try to, you know.
Well, that's what the media said. That's what I said. I don't want to pass speculation as fact, but that's how the media's portrayed it.
I mean, Russia has had 3 currency collapses in like 25 years. So, you know, I don't know if they're too much of an expert country to pull in to save economies. I mean,
well, I think we're all in agreement that fiat currencies are a no-go. I don't want that dinosaur paper money. It's 2018. Like, let's not do the time warp again. Like, we know how this plays out. So I don't want that paper money. No, say no to dinosaur paper money. So what's happening though?
Like, all right, so you guys have 22 different projects. How many people in Venezuela are even involved though? You know what I mean? How many people are using cryptocurrency? Is there a way of estimating that?
Now, of course, with any kind of decentralized peer-to-peer system, getting exact numbers is rough, which is why obviously with all cryptocurrencies, like how many people use Bitcoin, where's Bitcoin even accepted? No one has the actual concrete answer for that. But we do have a few healthy metrics. For example, as of today, 878 businesses are listed on discoverdash.com as accepting Dash in Venezuela. So we know for sure of 878 different businesses.
Is that through a payment gateway that convert to fiat, or do they hold the Dash?
The boots on the ground, like I said, there's a development team and they create solutions primarily for Venezuela because they know the needs and wants that they have. So they created their own POS solution, and there's a Dash Merchants outreach team. So it's all happened organically. And it's amazing. So just as Joel said, we have a website called discoverdash.com, and that's the online merchant directory, which is free to submit your business listing if you accept Dash, right? Now, in total merchant listing, this is important to understand, is 2,248. Now, as Joel was just pointed out,
2,256. I just refreshed the page since we started the thing.
So
we've had a few extras.
So 878 of those merchants are in Venezuela, and this has happened over the last few months. If you go to the website, there's a statistics menu. If you click on that, it's like a hockey stick. It's just gone up these last few months. And these aren't Mickey Mouse businesses. They're mostly food related. You can see the categories as well, which are most popular. You know, you've got things like Subway restaurants. These are things that people need.
Calvin Klein in Venezuela also Caracas also accepts Dash.
Wow.
I believe they've onboarded their first KFC, and I believe the entire KFC chain in Venezuela is going to start accepting Dash.
Whoa, that's going to be
great if they stayed
get
in
me
Dash.
some Dash.
That's what I'm telling you. So like,
I mean, I have some already, but now I'm like, oh, prices are low.
This is what I was saying. Joshua was on fire because he's just saying like people have forgot about, they've just somehow along the way just forgot about it's actually used for payments, right? This store of wealth thing is okay, but to be money, to be a currency, you have to be a store of wealth, a unit of account, and a medium of exchange. And what's the beautiful thing is that it's all about the free market. We haven't told them to use Dash. They're using Dash because they know it works. So that's the beautiful thing. And competition inspires innovation. So as Joshua was saying earlier about people just moaning, just being like very tribal, it's true. If people just like, oh, one coin to rule them all, Bitcoin, what about these other coins? Like, you know, let's do the time warp. Let's go back. Back to 2008. Oh, Bitcoin, electronic peer-to-peer cash. Oh, this sounds amazing. Fast forward. 2018. Oh my God, Bitcoin. Where is it? Oh, can we? This is going to be amazing. We've just traveled in the future. Everywhere's going to be accepted Bitcoin for payment. What's this? Store of value, gold? No. That was gold in 2008. So where can I spend it? Oh no, there's a Lightning Network. No, that doesn't make sense. That's off chain. That's a centralized solution. That's insane. Yes. Like, who's going to use that?
This thing is going. It's definitely been a different world than we kind of envisioned. As I used to live on Bitcoin, I expected that to be what would be used everywhere, but largely it doesn't seem to be the case. And as I tweeted out a couple of days ago, somewhere in the multiverse, we're all living off of Dogecoin already.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the Lightning Network has the ability to do good things, and it is growing. But I think, you know, as more and more people say, Bitcoin maximalism and stuff is definitely not there anymore. But what I am seeing is that different countries are taking on different coins. I know that I think it's Taiwan is a lot more Litecoin based. And then we see Dash being, of course, in Nigeria for all of places, but also in Venezuela because of the push that's happening there. And I think there'll be certain countries that just take, like in Germany, there's this social network called Zing, and it's nowhere else in the world, and it's quite popular. And I think that's the same thing with any sort of network effect, is that you get certain networks growing in certain places. And I really don't see that there'll be one coin to rule them all. Of course, decentralized exchanges will allow them to interface with each other very nicely without too much friction.
Yeah, of course. And I signed up for, no one told me that this B with a couple lines on it and the gold color together is what is required for a successful free economy. I got into Bitcoin because of what it does.
Yeah.
Right. And I got into Dash because it does basically the same boilerplate thing as a free money for a free people. And so if I have to travel to Japan someday and I find out everyone there is just accepting Bitcoin Cash, I'm not going to be that sad. I'm sorry. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I mean, we already won, and we freed the people. I mean, that's really what matters.
Yeah, no, absolutely correct. And the bit of news from our side, so Vaultoro has been, we put a proposal into the Dash DAO and to incorporate Dash as the next gold pair, because we're really working on figuring out crypto commodities and how to get actual commodities linking with these cryptos. And Dash for us was the next logical pair to have. We've been Bitcoin for 4 years, and Dash is really the first to be the second coin that we want to have on board. So we're very, very excited. We've been working like crazy. The interface looks absolutely stunning, guys. I'm super excited to launch it and show everyone. But I think tying it to some of these physical assets will really help in general to solidify it and to have this grounding effect. I mean, a lot of people think, gold, it's finished. But really, if you look at Bitcoin or crypto, people have said, crypto's dead so many times now. I mean, it's in the hundreds. There's a big list of obituaries, but gold has got an obituary list going back thousands of years where people say, it's over. It's paper now. Paper's the best thing. And I think at the end of the day, there's still the store of value concept but staying outside of the banking system. So we're very, very excited to launch that. And we'll I'll let you guys know in future.
Perfect.
So guys, I had a couple more questions, but I wanted to make sure that we thanked our sponsor before we keep chatting, because the show's going a little bit over.
Absolutely.
We can't do the show without our sponsors. So you as crypto investors, I want to introduce you to Equity Trust. They can educate you on the possibilities of protecting your profits, as it is possible to mitigate taxes by investing your cryptocurrency with your IRA. I don't even have an IRA, but I feel like I should get one. So I was excited when they sponsored us. With a self-directed IRA, you can invest in Bitcoin and other crypto in a potentially tax-deferred or tax-free way. If this sounds interesting to you, then you can discover more by visiting trustetc.com/crypto. They have a free guide which will explain the potential benefits and possibilities to you to invest in a tax-advantaged environment. Get your guide now at trustetc.com/crypto. So I think I'm going to check that out. I mean, definitely. I like being all in all my cryptos and stuff, but I feel like an IRA makes me feel like an adult. And then I feel like my family wouldn't be so concerned.
Well, that's definitely one barrier that a lot of people have had investing in cryptocurrency, is that no one wants to figure out how to deal with their private key seed and like back it up and things like that. And also some people are just like, well, I don't want to take money out of my 401k and then pay the penalty and then just buy some cryptocurrency on a thumb drive that I might lose or something like that. And so definitely those bridges for institutional investors, for like regular folks to just be able to invest in cryptocurrency, I think is going to be a big part of what takes this thing mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, 401ks and general nest eggy sort of schemes. I mean, generally, retirement schemes in general are very, very Ponzi-like when it comes to fiat, because fiat's losing more and more money. So you need to have the society making more and more babies, getting more and more people into the workforce to have enough money to pay the retirement funds of people that have been saving their entire lives in these schemes. So having a retirement fund in crypto, I think, is absolutely imperative. At least a portion of it, because I just see fiat ending in tears.
Of course.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bloodbath, but I don't want that to happen to other
Remember,
people,
folks, only
I do
hold.
kind of gleefully feel like I'll be proven right, but other than that, I don't think it's going to be like a good look.
Yeah.
Folks, only hold as much in the bank as you're willing to lose. That's what I keep saying.
And we should just say, just for clarity, that these are just our personal opinions, not financial advice. So please do your own research.
Listen, people are stupid enough to take financial advice from me.
Not trading advice, but fiat sucks.
But
yeah, fiat sucks. I mean, that's just objectively true.
I can't believe this is the first time I met Joshua, and I've literally agreed with everything that he said. I'm also a big fan of precious metals, and I was very proud that Vulturo actually became more or less partners with Dash. And I agree. I was fortunate enough to ride the precious metals wave. I was in it before cryptocurrency, and the 2008 2012 bull, right? I managed to ride that wave and made a lot of money. Now, typically, there's a financial crisis or recession every 8 to 10 years. This is over the last 40 years. Now, the last one occurred towards the end of 2008, 2009, and they happen between every 7 to 10 years. So we're actually really ripe for another recession just based on previous data. Now, the baby boomer market are very, very old. And as we've seen in financial publications, their money's drying out. So I think with our generation now, whatever you want to call them, snowflake generation, Generation X, Generation Y, or whatever, they have, they've got like their phones surgically attached to them, right? They want instant gratification is the words that I'm thinking of. So like, I think if there is another recession, this technological savvy generation, I feel, is going to be much more inclined to move towards cryptocurrencies. And I know I'm not the only one to say this. So yeah, I think that the years ahead are actually really exciting. I just want to say one thing. Can I just plug one thing?
Go ahead.
So just on the Venezuela thing, look, although I'm here representing Dash, if this is the first time you're hearing about Venezuela and you want to see or understand a bit more about the history, what's actually happening there is a fantastic documentary on YouTube called Venezuela and the Cryptocurrency Revolution. And it showcases the incredible rise of Dash adoption in Venezuela. But not only that, the documentary explores the history of the causes behind the country's hyperinflation. And the person that's actually doing the documentary, a chap called Rodrigo, he's there for 7 days and he pays everything with Dash Digital Cash, from his plane ticket to hotel to breakfast, lunch, dinner. But you actually see on the ground what's happening from, petrol station pumps, people queuing up, massive amounts of money trying to pay for park tickets.
That sounds great.
You have to watch it. It's only 30 minutes long, but it's so
send
insightful.
It on over. I want to check it out. We'll put it in the show links for people, because I think it's and Venezuela can happen anywhere. Because if it kind of falls apart there, I mean, people, aren't they concerned about it sort of spilling over?
Yeah, and I believe Brian Armstrong, Coinbase's CEO, predicted that in the next 3 to 5 years, there'll be a lot of economic collapses that will drive people into cryptocurrency. So it's not just, what area is having some trouble right now? It's could be the whole world before you know it. In fact, we could have some of these more economically challenged zones become the next economic superpowers by going all crypto first. Wouldn't that be true?
Very good point. So let me ask you guys, there's a lot of great propaganda that comes out of a Dash. And like I say, that's sort of joking around, but I mean it in the sense that, there's a lot of ideology that drove a lot of us into crypto. Clearly, we're all on the same page, freedom and peace, yada, yada, yada. What's the deal with that? So you guys have been sort of supporting a lot of the media that's in the alternative media. So I know you guys have given Ben Swan quite a lot of money. Luke Gradowski, I think, is supported by Dash. A ton of different people are. What's the impact of that, do you think, that you've seen? And are people concerned about the reality that YouTube is our overlord and they're not letting things get seen so much? So what are the plans for kind of getting out the messages that really resonate with people in their soul, that might get them inspired to work with crypto for a different reason than the necessity needed in Venezuela, with some limitations on tech because of the overlords?
Well, really, what we're talking about with cryptocurrency is a decentralized peer-to-peer financial system, as well as a commercial system, like a payments method, et cetera, et cetera. And that principle, decentralize all the things, that principle applies all the way up to everything. And of course, the next big candidate on that list is media and speech. And there's currently ways of communicating without being censored. They're pretty plentiful, except the thing is, what I believe that Dash is doing different from a lot of the early generation crypto projects is trying to make decentralized, peer-to-peer, uncensorable stuff feel as smooth as, say, a PayPal or Venmo, as smooth as the centralized solutions. So you don't actually feel that you're hacking it with your little ham radio in the corner there. So I think that that's going to be the next big step, is when you have decentralized communications platforms work as well or better than social media platforms, even excluding the fact that they're not censored.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Alex Jones and maybe even Stefan Molyneux and all these people that are getting censored and banned now, I think it's a good thing, because because it showcases how censorable it is. Without this, people just keep on piling into this centralized system. So by having these big cases, it's painful to see. And, you know, whatever you think of Alex Jones, I don't really care. But what's happening is that people go, oh, wow, this guy spent 12 years building a network of a lot of content. And all of a sudden, poof, we don't like what you're talking about, and whack, you're out. You know, this is why, like, I think it's called DTube.
WikiLeaks too is another example, of course.
WikiLeaks is a great
poor
example.
Julian Assange.
Pops up on DTube as well, just to be absolutely prepared in case something crazy happens. And that's one thing, is that people just see Alex Jones and they just think, well, I don't tweet about chemtrails. I don't need to care. But this has happened a lot before them. I mean, I've followed quite a few YouTubers and different things. Two that come to mind, so there's this one channel called Bro Science Life. It's a bunch of stupid gym humor. That it's a lot of fun, but whatever. They got, because of the nature of their jokes or their content, they got demonetized or have had issues with that. And that seemed a little bit of an unlikely candidate. And then there was another one who was just a martial artist who did martial art tutorials of like how to throw a proper this kick and stuff, and he got demonetized and had to go off the platform too. And then there's some parkour channel as well. There's just a bunch of non-controversial things are already starting to lose out. And it's not the Alex Joneses. Like, that's just what I want, is those people to push the non-controversial people off the platform, to start using something that can't be censored, because they're next. It's not just like a purely political or Orwellian kind of thing of, oh, we want to censor stuff. It's also, although that is a big element to it, it's also that there's a lot of people, that a lot of reasons you want decentralization that are not related to being a political dissident. Decentralization is for everyone. And the sooner the big things like this happen and kind of shake everyone out of the Twitter tree, for example, and start using other things, the better that we're going to fare as a species in the long run.
Yeah, and the notion that we've got to do this under the name of fake news is ridiculous. I mean, we've had fake news since the 90s, since forever. You know, the CIA and that's their main job, is to propagate fake news around war and to try and hide certain facts. And the fact that we're living in this time of full-on information propagation, that there should be fake news. Of course, there's fake news. The answer isn't censorship by a central authority. The answer is something else, and we're going to see it, whether that's community, I don't know, you know, upvoting, downvoting, who knows what it is, but it really isn't censorship. So I think, you know, like I said, it's a good thing that's happening now, and we can see, while crypto is not only money, we're also developing great blockchain applications based on decentralizing certain things like data propagation. And I know you know, Steam it, whatever you think of that, whether you like the economic theory behind it or not, is still a really cool experiment in this whole notion of decentralizing information in terms of, you know, and we really see the network effect here with YouTube. The network effect is so powerful that people aren't willing to leave it, even though if you put a little bit of someone else's music in your video, demonetized, boom. Instead of going, hey, we might
And the
connect you
artist
and the
would make
artist.
like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a
Yeah, the
penny
artist,
for it
but
anyway.
at least it's something. They could contact the artist and say, "Hey, this YouTuber's used your music. Do you want to monetize? Do you want to be part of this monetization
Well,
process?"
here's
or
peer to
whatever?
peer, right? Why
Yeah,
doesn't
I
why
mean,
don't people just negotiate amongst themselves? I think that's what we're walking into is more options for people.
Yeah, and we see things like Token FM, which Tatiana's been a lot part of. You know, doing great work with that, with Adam B. Levine. You know, there's amazing work all around the place, and I think this is the time, and I really feel lucky to be alive and watching this all unfold.
Yeah, Tatiana, you asked the question about Ben Swan, Luke Radowski, and I feel like we didn't answer that. So I don't want your listeners to think that we kind of dodged the question.
No,
So-
but I have another question too, and then
Let
we
me-
got to wrap because the show's going long. But I
Okay.
have another question.
Do you like Jeffrey Tucker?
Of course I do.
I do. I think he's a legend. Well, I think he
Jeffrey's
summarized
a
this.
good friend of mine. He's been on the show like 20 times. He's why I have this show.
Oh, fantastic!
Literally.
Well, yeah, I think he's such a nice chap. He's an absolute legend, and I agree with him. And I think he's summarized this perfectly. The cryptocurrency movement is now the liberty movement. Sorry, the liberty movement is now the cryptocurrency movement. Sorry, I mixed up his words there. He's going to kill me for that. But I agree because he spoke about this quite a bit, just saying how in 2008 everyone got into Ron Paul and the libertarian movement, and obviously libertarians are freedom-loving people, so they're open to alternative currencies. Obviously, you know, they're big into precious metals and stuff as well. They're free thinkers, right? Mm-hmm. So of course they're open to new ideas. So that's why people like Ben Swan and the alternative media that look for that other narrative to actually question and look deeper into things are attracted to Dash. Now, we didn't go out and poach them, so to speak. That's the beauty of our decentralized governance, because they can come to the network and apply for funding. So not just people. So they've come to us and said, like, okay, we would like to offer this.
Isn't that like $5,000 to apply for funding? Isn't there like quite
they call it 5 Dash entry fee.
Oh, okay. So and now it's cheaper.
And it sounds scary at first, but it actually makes sense because it stops people spamming the network, asking for money from everywhere. I mean, it's meant to be a borderless worldwide solution. So we have people submitting proposals around the world, from big businesses, multinational businesses wanting to do integrations, to even YouTubers, to even MMA fighters.
Should they pay more, the big guys, or no?
You have to have a standardized approach, but also that's the consensus issue, and that's where the masternodes actually play a pivotal role, because it's actually a big job. And even though there's been a huge market cap price pullback, masternode count is at its highest ever. We're at 4,908, which is a very healthy sign, which shows that institutional money is starting to come in, like the smart money is coming in, taking advantage. But when it comes to these proposals, there's so much reading that you have to do. And we're having more proposals being submitted than ever before. So you've got to really do your due diligence. And, you know, it's like Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. But but actually having a voice in your community, you're actually controlling the destiny of your coin. You have a voice, where other coins, whether you've got Fluffy Pony Monero or Vitalik or Roger, you take those people out, then you've got issues. So we have that longevity where we just can, keep surviving and keep moving forward, like Skynet. And not Skynet.
There will be something that the cryptocurrency world will have to kind of conquer. I know that obviously being completely decentralized and peer-to-peer, sometimes there's a little bit of a power vacuum. And as we know with the tragedy of the commons, if no one owns it, someone can kind of come in and disrespect it. And we've seen a lot of power struggles in, for example, the Bitcoin community, which caused a split. And from what I hear, from what the Twitterverse tells me today, it appears that Craig Wright and nChain have come out with their own Bitcoin Cash client. And so now there's a little bit of competition and struggling in the fork of Bitcoin now. And so these kinds of things keep on, which is
a cat fight.
Yeah, exactly should happen, where everything decentralized. Everyone said, "Oh, I want to move on this project." There was a group of people who were in the Dash community that then exited and started working for Pivx, and then a few of them moved on to Smart Cash, and then a couple of them moved on to something else after that. And that's great, and that's perfect, and that's healthy. But we have to find ways of solving conflicts productively, and not having just this war for territory all the time. And so mark my word, governance is going to be very important in the future.
So I think okay, so sometimes I feel that it appears that Dash people are like, Dash. And then I thought about it, I was like, yeah, but then the Ethereum people are the same thing. Bitcoin people are the same way. how does interaction and business development work with Dash if it's a decentralized governance system?
That's a great question. Well, any business person can actually come. In fact, you don't actually have to approach anyone. Like Vultoro, they could just submit a proposal to the network, and if we deem it worthy and we see value in the network, the masternodes will vote for it. However, we do have people, and we've had business approach both myself and Joël. The Dash core team has their own business development arms. So we have all these Dash funded organizations under the DAO, which has no central authority that you can come to. So quite often, just like when Ben Swan was interested as a freedom-loving person, actually saw the benefit in Dash, he actually got in contact with Joël and just said, like, this is amazing. Can you explain it more to me? But I just want to come back to what you was just saying then about this tribalism and, you know, Dash, Ethereum, Ethereum. Here's the funny thing, right? We're all Bitcoiners. We all came from Bitcoin. That Dash launched in 2014.
We're all Bitcoiners
and actually,
now.
That used to be like the gateway. That used to be kind of like, they say, like the gateway drug. Because through the exchanges, you had to get Bitcoin first to move to any of the altcoins. Now there's a lot more fiat currency trading pairs for other altcoins, so now we're not so dependent, right? But the thing is, most of us came from Bitcoin in the very, very beginning. So I mean, I did. So a lot of us still have Bitcoin, but we saw the problems. In fact, actually Dash came from Bitcoin because we were talking. And the founder, Evan Duffield, just kind of like, hey, you know, in 2013, even this is really funny to say now, and your audience that are fairly new to crypto might find this hilarious to know, but even the experts back in 2013 thought that Bitcoin was anonymous. And then these things called block explorers came out, which started a huge conversation. So basically, our founder, Evan Duffield, was part of the Bitcoin, community. And
yeah, I know Evan. He's great.
Yeah, and at that time, right, the place to be wasn't Reddit. It was Bitcoin Talk, which was a forum. So he was saying like, hey, guys, I've got some ideas about privacy. But as we've alluded to earlier, there's no mechanism, even in Bitcoin today, to reach consensus for governance, right? It just caused a massive shouting match. You get censorship. People started up forking coins, starting new Reddit accounts. It's a nightmare. So he just started Dash as kind of an experiment, really, because he said, oh, I've got this problem. But because there was no mechanism to get that consensus. So a lot of us in Bitcoin was thinking, right, well, yeah, we see value in this privacy thing, but it's such a new innovative space, like we don't know what structure, and we've just grown so much from there. So this whole tribal thing is nonsense. Look, we're always going to be grateful to Bitcoin because they paved the way forward. However, you can't just have one coin to rule them all, as we said earlier. Like, I'm not going to call Joshua from my brick phone in the 80s, like Motorola style, saying, yo, Joshua, how's it going? It's like, Joshua's like, I'm in 2018, mate. I've got an iPhone and thing. No, you can't have that. There can only be one. Innovation doesn't matter at all. There's only one thing. So I don't care how much money they spend on innovation, research, development, Samsung thing. There can only be one. Communism is the way. I thought this was about free market economics here, people. Like, what's wrong with the free market? What are you so scared about? Competition inspires innovation. Bitcoin maximalism died in 2017. I'm sorry. And if you bag holders holding Bitcoin and still really upset about it, well, you got to wake up and smell the coffee because, you're not living in the real world. It's the reality check.
I think I can condense everything you said into a couple of sentences. First, if you hate on other cryptocurrency projects, then you're probably not in the space for the right reason. If you just hate on other coin, I don't like that. But if you aren't unapologetically a giant fanboy for the project that you use or participate in, you probably need to pick another project you can actually believe in.
That's very, very well said. I was always a Bitcoin maximalist. Bitcoin's the one. But really, when I sat down and really meditated on it, I realized that I'm really a competition maximalist, because that's really what the problem was in the first place with fiat, is that I was stuck with one. I was forced by the state to use their one currency. And in Europe, that's everywhere. And that makes sense too, because it's great. I can go to a whole lot of different countries and use the same thing. But with mobiles and everything like that, it's very frictionless to move between currencies, between cryptocurrencies. So competition really is key here. And like we said before, I mean, Russia's been in 3 currency collapses in the last 25 years. We have Venezuela. We have, Turkey's just in free fall. Turkey, if you hold Turkish lira, Bitcoin's also been in a little bit of a bull run over the last month, believe it or not. So, I really think competition is the key.
I'm with you. I like this show. This was very, very good. but it's over, guys. It's been long. It's been fun. We can always do it again. And I want to make sure that we thank our sponsor, trustetc.com/crypto one more time. And I don't know, guys, this has been really cool. Dash.
I'm just so happy to see you again. Like, because we met at Portfest, what was that, like 1-2 months ago? And
Yeah.
I didn't know who you was. You didn't know who I was. I thought we clicked. I thought there was chemistry there.
We were
I got up in the
buds.
morning. I tried to find you, and you was gone. And like, you know, the cryptoverse works in mysterious ways. Like 1-2 months later, now I'm on your podcast. You know,
Wait, so I want to ask you guys something.
it's like destiny.
So I'm starting a new podcast. Maybe you guys want to come on. What do you think?
Sure.
Well, no, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to make it a special thing. I didn't talk about it at the beginning. Did I, Josh? No, I don't think so.
No, you didn't.
We're going to keep it a secret.
What a teaser. What a teaser.
I know. I'm just a little tease, and that's going to give you a tease as to what this thing will be. I'm going to take us offline, boys. We could talk about it. But thanks, everyone, for checking out the show. Hopefully, the jingle will now play. I don't know if we can figure that out. I'm pretty sure we can, making some changes, some improvements. And we'll be back next
Mark
week.
sing it. He'd be happy
What?
to. Make Mark sing the jingle. Do it.
Well, he
do
can
it
sing
live.
harmonies.
Do it live, man. Do it live.
The dashing in is a happening, people.
Rock and roll. Everybody go and check out. Guys, where can people find you? What's the story?
Oh, you're
Links
going
and
to love
stuff?
this. So my Twitter is @StayDashy. You couldn't make it up.
Jay Dashy. I remember
Jay
seeing that
Dashy.
at one point. I think you
Yeah.
mentioned that. It is very funny. I like it. Joel?
Yes, I'm at the Desert Lynx. Desert is in dry hot place. Lynx is in yes.
Okay, fine. And Josh, Voltoro.com. Go
Yeah,
find him.
Voltoro.com or @Voltoro. That's Volt as in a gold vault, and Oro, that's Spanish for gold. Little, you know.
Do you think anyone stayed to listen to me plug myself? Probably not. CryptoMediaHub.com and TatianaRose.com. Later, people. Bye. Thanks.
Bye bye.